Yes, here we go. It's the P.M.P. Terry's back on the show. I know a lot of you are missing him. I wasn't, but I know a lot of you were. Starts with me to go on the day, Terry. But yes, it was a 2-0 win for Celtic. Progress through the next round of the Cup. That was, as you were saying off air, that was the remit for today, and we've done it. It's 8 wins from 9. It's the best run of form Brendan's been on since he came back. His peg has never been so shaky, I think, with many fans, though, to be honest. And we're going to debate the pros and cons of Celtic's current situation, whether it is false narratives, whether it's overreactions, whether it's compounded because of the real frustration of off-field issues, or maybe it's these comments off the park that have led us to be so negative about a team in a results. If you look at it just from a results prism, they're doing okay. But yeah, we'll get stuck into all that, and I hope you all have a good wee next hour or so listening to us two idiots dissect what was a decent Celtic performance today. How are you, Terry?
Not too bad, Bhoycie. Obviously, I wasn't on the last couple of games. Just last weekend, my time didn't suit your time, and during the week I was away with work. Now, I got to see most of the game during the week. I was at a work dinner on Wednesday night, but I had my mobile sitting discreetly positioned where I could engage, but also keep abreast of the first half, and then I managed to get away in time to watch the second half. But you guys covered it. You guys covered it very well.
Good.
But good to be back on. I was looking forward to today's game. I was kind of a wee bit relieved it wasn't a league game, because as much as I want to win the Scottish Cup, I really, really want to win this league. And I just was glad not to have that pressure of this weekend, thinking we could possibly fall behind in this league title race. So it was a wee bit refreshing just that today's game for me wasn't the be all and end all of league duty. The overriding aim was just to get through and be in the hat for the next round, and that's where we're at. And probably just worth noting, I could be wrong, but I think the draw is sometime between 4:30 and 5. So if the guys there we go, right on the money, Phil McGinley. If some of you guys can just keep us aware of what happens in the draw, that would be excellent. We can discuss that as it happens.
Yeah, we will definitely be looking forward to that as well. Very quickly, do all that good stuff as well. Please, now, if you are in the chat, there's already 70 odd of you. Make sure you hit that wee like button, dislike button. If you feel like you want to do that, I'm down with that as well, because it still helps that algorithm that Phil and Liam seem to know loads about, and I don't. But yeah, either remember, give us a wee share on your socials if you could be so kind. But not if it's going to mean you have to leave, jump off the bus briefly. Don't worry about that. And of course, if you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member, like some of you have, it's $1.99 a month. Keeps the wheel on the road. It keeps us doing 5-6 shows a week, which we have been doing, particularly when there's 2 games. You get a wee midweek bonus, and we'll be providing you with much more content, as well as audio content. Remember, if you're looking up the bus on your favourite podcast sort of outlet that you listen on, remember there's shows now. Well, we've got one that is exclusively on the other corner car. What's it? Carpool. I like it. His first episode was called Celtic Car Crash. And he'll be doing that once a week, audio only. So make sure you're giving that a blast. But thank you to all the members on the bus, like Gary Brown, like Pam, she's back as a member. Love it. Like Scott Howe, Phil McGinley himself. 2 shout outs already, mate. Mr. A, Jim C, Ali, NM's no one. That's cool. That's good. I think it would be Martin K, Alex Forsyth. There's loads of yous. But anyway, back to the football. Terry, 2-1 win. I thought it was an efficient performance. I think if the mood music is it, I'm not just playing devil's advocate. I'm trying to bring balance to the debate, which I don't think we're able to do always, because I think sometimes you're so pissed off for certain aspects. Often, by the way, level of performance. Let's get that out the road now and accept that has been a big issue this season as well. But it can sometimes mean you take your eyes off what the actual prerequisites of a Celtic first team have. And that's to win football matches, first and foremost. We've won 8 out of the last 9, drawn the other. It's title winning form in anyone's book. It's double winning form in anyone's book. Because in that sequence, it includes beating your nearest rivals, who, that means, last 9 games, aren't as good a form as us. And it includes a defeat for them against who their main rivals are for the title. Today was about the Scottish Cup, and I think if those last 9 games had been done without a transfer window in the midst of them, first and foremost, that brought so much negativity, and with maybe just a wee bit more oomph, shall we say, for want of a better word, in the displays, I think today we could just look at that and go, very efficient, professional job done, cruised into the next round. But what are your thoughts?
It's difficult, Bhoycie, because I want to separate the two things, because I said previously I was glad that it was a cup game because it takes away that pressure of the league, which I think is now very, very much in the balance. And hand on heart, I'm hoping we win it as opposed to expecting we win it. The bookies can't split us. They've got Celtic very, very marginally favourites for the league. In my eyes, I now think we're second favourites, but I'm hoping we can still get the job done. But today is a different competition. It's a Scottish Cup. I suppose what I was wanting was for us to get through to the next round of this, but I was also wanting to see an authoritative performance that then led me to believe that we could now go on and go on a run of performances that would get the job done in terms of the league. So let's deal with today's game separately, because I think we clearly got the job done. We're in this draw. The balls are getting moved about as we speak now. That no doubt there'll be one of those balls will be heated up a little bit, just so as whoever's doing the draw can make sure that it gets pulled out with a home draw and all that. But the objective today was to get through the next round. We've done it. It's reasonably comfortable. I mean, we picked through the game, but we got the job done. We're through the next round. I suppose what I really wanted was a performance that made me think, okay, right, we're gonna go on now. We're gonna get this league done. So keep it separate, because I don't think we've done the second one. I don't think I've seen anything today that makes me any more confident that we're going to get the league done. I thought we huffed and puffed. I thought St Mirren had plenty of opportunities, but let's isolate it. It was a cup game against a team that's in form, one of the stronger teams in the SPL this season, and they had home advantage, and we went there and we got the job done, created decent opportunities, and we didn't concede any goals. So in terms of that, happy, job done. We're in the draw. We're in the next round. Team selection, I think, is worth touching on, because we were talking in the chat about this was a 4-4-2. I didn't see it like that. I seen this as a 4-2-4. I genuinely see it as a 4-2-4, because I don't see Maida and Palma as left and right midfielders. They're out and out attacking wide men. They're not left midfielders. They're not right midfielders. To me, that was a 4-2-4. There was only 2 midfielders in that part. That was McGregor and O'Reilly, and we essentially had 4 forwards on the park. That's how I seen that. So is that stroke of genius from the manager? Is that because he's just looking to try and find some kind of spark? Why did he change it today? Don't know. But at least it shows that he isn't going to stick rigidly to his preferred formation. He's been able to go with something that's a little bit different. Did it work? Possibly, possibly not. But I thought that was a very, very attacking lineup to go with. In terms of the back four, if you read that back four on paper, Ralston, Welsh, Scales, Bernabei. If that was a Hibs defence or a St Johnstone defence, that's really what that is. Let's think about that. It's our second choice right back. It's our second choice left back at a push. And it's at the start of the season, I would think, our 4th and 5th centre backs. That doesn't fill me with much confidence going forward that back four could get any kind of job done. We need Carter Vickers back sooner rather than later. Greg Taylor has been much maligned this season, but we need him back next week. We absolutely do. And that said, that was probably Bernabei's best performance in the Celtic top, to be honest. But that doesn't mean it was good. But there was signs in there that you could see little glimpses of why somebody who watched him might have thought there's a bit of a player there. But when you read those 4 names, Ralston, Welsh, Scales and Bernabei, if you were reading out a St Johnstone, Hibs, St Mirren, Motherwell team, and that was the back 4, you wouldn't bat an eyelid. You would think that sounds just about right. And that's where we're at now. I was checking, and again, I keep pulling the two things together. Today's match, the cup game, and I'm already thinking about Ibrox on the 6th of April. That defence can't go into that game. But anyway, that's a different story. The manager's changed it today. He dropped Bernardo out. I think Bernardo had that purple patch of 4 games where he just seemed to go from 0 to hero, and then it was maybe a slight drop off. So probably not a surprise that he was the one to drop out, but I think it was a surprise that he did go with a different formation than what his preferred formation is. Kyogo obviously scores the first goal, making a run from that slightly deeper position. So to me, it looked as if Ida was the 9, Kyogo was the 10, playing a little bit deeper. I don't know, but Ida, I think because he scored a couple of penalties, all of a sudden he's become this person that we can maybe rely on. I thought he was very, very anonymous today. And again, that starts a different conversation around the window where we talked about bringing in quality, and the manager discussed these 2 players as if they were quality, these 2 guys that we've brought in. I don't know. I just don't see it. I know I'm rambling. I know I'm going over.
What's he meant to say? I mean, what is he meant to say? I'm going over
so many different conversations, but these are all the threads. These are all the threads that are going on in my head. I want to be positive about today's.
This is 2 weeks worth of you not being on the bus, Terry. That's coming out.
I haven't been on. Yeah. You know what? It's because I haven't been on. I'm trying to. It's a bit of therapy. I'm trying to get it all out there and see how you're feeling about the whole thing. But in terms of today, we got it done. Yes, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't perfect, but we've got the job done. We're in the hat. In the next 2, 3, 4 minutes, Phil McGinley's going to put a message up there telling us we're going to Ibrox in the quarterfinal, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, it's Livingston at home.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Well, you'll take that. So immediately, you want to know what the rest of the draw looks like.
I think you're talking about one game in particular. Am I right?
Aye, of course they are.
Aye. But
Hearts away or Aberdeen away would do.
That'd be good. That would be good.
Who's doing the draw? Do you know?
No, I've not got it on, mate. Who's the snitch wants to know where you've been? Terry has covered that at the start of the show, mate. Just press the rewind button after we're finished. He explains that he's been at work dues and that. I think people always get worried if someone's not been in the pod. There must be a mass fallout. It's like, no, we do that on here.
I wouldn't believe this. I was in the shop one day. I was down in the... I go to the reduced section first now to decide what I want for dinner, depending on what's reduced. Because
sometimes you eat like a king doing that. But you can eat like a king doing that sometimes.
My cousin came up to me and he goes, "Are you still doing the pod?" And I says, "I am." He says, "I watched you boys one night. I watched you and Russell on." And he said, "You had one big massive fallout." And I said to the wife, I said, "That'll be it, Terry. I'll never be on again after that."
Oh, brilliant!
That's just par for the course. That's just how we rock.
That's how we rock. It comes to the football, mate. There's nothing wrong with having a wee bit of passion about it. And me and you can have a bit of back and forth, and then it's always. How do you feel about the lineup then today? What was your thoughts when you seen that? Yeah, I think with the lineup,
you were very much under Ange. You were very much, let's see Giakoumakis and Kyogo together, and it happened maybe for 20 minutes one game, and
I remember that
5 seconds another game. But he was never invested in that. He wasn't prepared to bend and flex. We've now seen Brendan Rodgers do it, albeit with, in my mind, a much inferior player than Giakoumakis in terms of Ida. I might be doing him a disservice. I probably am, but in my book, my early instincts are he ain't quality. He doesn't improve our 11, but for whatever reason, Rodgers seems to want to play him in the starting 11. I don't know what that means for O, because
Regan posted in the group chat, Terry, that before the game there was a comment, and we will paraphrase because I don't have it. He heard it.
We'll take that.
And the draw was along the line. The interview was along the lines of, he said, "Well, now we've got a quality option to play with the two."
What? See, this is it, boy. See that.
But but very quickly though, you were asking about and I'm sitting thinking, well, does he maybe mean there though? Does he maybe mean there that he doesn't think was ever worthy of a starting lineup place? If so, there should have been a replacement, brought in the summer. That's quite. If Regan's way he's sort of articulated it to us is correct, then it does sound a wee bit of a slight. Either though, if you want to talk about him in the start line, he scored the 2 penalties last game. There's no point in trying to hamper progress for the sake of it. I thought he had to get the start today. I was encouraged to see it being with Kyogo. I think it sends a message. Firstly, when the opposition team see that lineup, that you mean business, and they are making a wee bit of a shake-up. And you have to say in the first half, without a doubt, when Kyogo was picking up the pockets of space, St Mirren hadn't quite worked out how to cover him. That was apparent. Not just his goal. Even after his goal, that wasn't enough of a wake-up call for them. And he was still popping up at the edge of the box. He fluffed one on his left foot. But it is difficult to pick up, I think, because his movement off the ball, Kyogo. See, at times, now, his execution is not of Maeda levels. Let's not be silly. But at times, his execution can frustrate you. But off the ball, his movement and things is superb. And him now switching positions, if defenders thought they had got accustomed to how Celtic were playing, and Kyogo can run there if he wants because they're not going to find him anyway. Now, there's a greater test for defenders to try and deal with him. Or does a midfielder drop down to deal with it? So it posed a good few questions there. I was positive about it. And in terms of Ida's contribution, the fact he's given a headache and it's allowing a better player in Kyogo to be causing more problems like he was, like we're accustomed to him doing, I'm okay with that. There was a moment with Ida where he did the wee sort of swivel and then swivel back and he got his shot off early. I like that, but wasn't involved enough. But what you could say, though, as well, is this guy's not been a regular starter this season at all. He's getting up to match sharpness. We don't sign players that match sharp, as you know. And we may as well persevere with him. There's no point now in bringing him in and then going, if we're going to go the 2 up, is going to be the guy. Because that would be telling you we really have brought in someone that no one thinks is strengthening, not even the first team, but even the squad. That would have been pointless. So, of course, if we're going to go with the 2, we're going to bring him.
But see, he can swivel all he wants. I don't think he can swivel as much as he wants. He's not a Celtic first team player, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't care that he's not played much. Why is this manager trying to kid us that these 2 players that come in January are the quality that he was talking about? We know straight away they're not. We know, within minutes of watching these 2 guys, Kuhn is just on a par, probably at best, with what we've got. He's on par with what we've got, and Ida is a third choice striker for a mid-table championship team. That isn't good enough for Celtic, and I don't care. I don't care if the guy scored 2 penalties. I seen an interview with the manager talked. He almost said, I don't know who the interview was with, but he almost said that part of it just. He almost said part of the reason for bringing him in is because we knew he was good at taking penalties. He just said we knew he had a good record from the spot. We knew he was a penalty taker. And then he diverted the conversation a little bit. And I thought, is this where we're at? Where we're searching a database for people that have got a good record from the spot because we've got bad ones. My gut feel is this guy isn't the answer. He ain't any better than O. He's definitely not any better than Giakoumakis. However, he's come in and he's allowing the manager to mix things up a little bit. For me, the key part around this today is I know Kyogo's got a lot of criticism for his lack of involvement, even more so this year, because last year it was kind of masked a little bit in terms of he wasn't involved an awful lot, but he was getting enough opportunities where he was scoring a goal or 2 goals. He might only touch the ball 5 times, but 2 of them ended up with the ball in the net. Whereas this season, we haven't been able to carve out those opportunities for him. But today, we found a way to get him a little bit more involved, albeit that meant him dropping deeper with another person up there, another body as the sort of target man or focal point to occupy the 2 centre-backs, with Kyogo then dropping deeper. And I think you've seen it with the first goal. So we didn't really do much in the first 13 minutes, but McGregor then played. It's the first meaningful forward pass where McGregor plays it. Nice forward pass, and Palma gets in. And it was one of those games, to be honest, I thought Palma did okay today. It's one of those games where I thought he was all right, and probably next week he'll be the opposite of that. But he was the assist for both goals. So McGregor finds him with a lovely ball, and he picks out Kyogo, not where you would expect him to be, which is probably on the edge of the 6-yard box, but that's where Ida is. Kyogo's then making a run from just outside the penalty box, and whenever Palma finds him, he's just inside the box and he gets a shot and flicks it in. But you did see a much more involved Kyogo, much more touches, an opportunity for him to show. I don't feel in any way, shape, or form that Kyogo is any less of a player than he was last year. I just think we haven't been able to create the opportunities for the guy the same way as we did last year. You and me talked so many times about that signature goal where the two wide men, they get to the line, they cut it across, Kyogo's in the 6-yard box, one touch into the net, and we haven't been creating them chances for the guy. I think he's still exactly as ruthless as he was. We've seen it in the 2 games against Rangers with those 2 goals. He's still a ruthless killer. We need to set the opportunities up for him. And we managed to do it today by changing things up a little bit.
Terry, we've been creating chances though throughout. We've been creating chances. You just have to look at the statistics for how many efforts Celtic have on goal. How many of them are in the box? We are creating chances. Kyogo's responsibility as well as on a new improved contract under a new manager was not to expect the exact same as what was there previously. If you can only play under one guy as a team, that's not a killer, mate. You've just got, it's a complete contradiction. You're playing then around one player. That is not how it's going to work when you're at Celtic.
Totally disagree. You've seen it in the 2 Rangers games. You've seen the 2 Rangers games. The only reason we won those 2 games,
it's because the opposition played differently than other teams do. I'll answer it for you.
Who was the difference between the teams? One player.
Because Rangers played differently than the rest of the Scottish teams do against us. What are you not getting?
Right. So what did that allow?
We've not changed our setup.
What did that mean? That allowed us to create chances for him.
Right.
We took them.
Yep.
So we've got to find a way to create chances for him. The reason the previous manager, he was the first signing that he brought in because he was going to be key to the way that team was going to be set up. And the key component there was the 2 wide players that he was then going to bring in were constantly going to be firing low balls across the 6-yard line for him to finish. And we have not been utilising that tactic. We've been firing high balls into the box from all sorts of angles and expecting him to get in the end of them.
But we are getting the shots off, though. The numbers don't lie. So who's been doing that? We have been creating still very solid. There's been plenty of chances.
I know full well.
I'm trying to explain to you, you've cut it a couple of times, just very quickly, so I can explain to you.
Go ahead.
The way Celtic have set up against Rangers has been no different to how we've set up against other teams. The difference, the reason why Kyogo has been having more of an impact in those games is Rangers play differently against Celtic than the rest of the teams do. That's not difficult to understand. I'm not quite sure what the pushback is. Rangers don't play the low block against us to the extent that the other teams do. That is what Celtic's biggest.
Did Hibs play a low block Wednesday night?
Well, I wouldn't say their approach is the same as Rangers, Terry. To be honest with you, no. Whether it was a low block or not, I think.
Hibs played.
Well, that's one example. That's fair enough. I would say, Terry, I don't think they've been playing that expansive against us either. And usually that takes still the first half for that then to be. You think you're reflecting on the second half display by Hibs, not the first one, which is a brilliant microcosm of an argument to pull out. Right. But let's be real. Let's be real here. What had to happen when a new manager comes in, you have to be able to expect there to be a change in how the team approaches things. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong, the same backroom staff are all there. Maybe these guys think Celtic don't actually change. But for me, we have to be honest. If you're at a football club and it changes management, you cannot think everything's going to be put on a plate for you the exact same way.
Okay.
It is not. And his goal record for minutes in the park for a striker at Celtic this season equates to what exactly, Terry? And what sort of comparison would you make? The other 2 seasons in the system, I admit, that suited him and that he shined in, that wasn't going to be there because Ange wasn't there. Has he adapted? Has he adapted to the new system? Or should managers adapt to Kyogo? Then you have a very difficult conversation. I think the managers adapted today because I think overall the performance levels of the team have not been as good over the last couple of months, despite the results spin I was putting on at the start of the show. And when we've seen Kyogo in a different position and he is popping up the space, yes, he can be deadly then. But Kyogo as well, for balance, you cannot absolve of blame when his strike rate has been as poor as it is for the last 2 to 3 months.
So, Bhoycie, you are the last person who relies on stats to back up your argument. So what you're saying to me is...
You're talking about goals, Terry.
No. Listen, what you're saying to me is we have been creating the same amount of chances as we have done the last 2 seasons for our centre forward.
I never said that once. I said it will probably equate in some games that it would to last season. For example, like it was 2 weeks ago, 22 shots on goal. 22. I would say that's Ange's numbers, no?
Where's those shots coming from?
But was there 22 shots on goal or not? I would say that's Ange's numbers.
If one of those shots are from the right back launching the ball forward from the halfway line, it just happens to be on target. Do your eyes? You're very much a man for the optics. Do your eyes tell you that we have created enough opportunities for our centre forward this season than we did do in the last 2?
No, I wouldn't say they have.
Has he had the same service? Has he had the same service?
Would a killer score more goals though, still under a different dynamic than what he had before? Yes, he would. Do you know it? I do.
I can't remember.
He scored 4 goals, mate, and he scored 4 goals in the last 3 months. Just got to be honest.
I don't remember a pile of chances that he's missed. I genuinely don't.
So where's he been?
He's had some. He's had some, but he always had some. He always had some.
He's been in the park though, yeah? Anyway, Kyogo scored today. We'll move on. Kyogo scored today, and it was great to see. I think it's in the middle. For me, I think people are, just very cool. I think he's got an infectious personality, Kyogo. Someone I absolutely love to death. Let's get that right.
Has he started wearing a gum shield, or was he at Brendan's?
Well, you shut up when I'm talking. He's scored a hell of a lot of goals for us, a lot more good memories than not. But I think, whilst the team setup hasn't suited him at all, I think there has to be a responsibility on one of our highest earners who signed a new contract in the summer to be able to do a bit more than what he has this year. That's fair. Anyway,
it's your boss.
Let's go on to the game. So, with Kyogo's goal, we can brush over that now, so no back in it. Well done, Kyogo. I'm glad you scored. We all are. We then get something I wanted to get to, and we'll just do it now since we're covering plenty of angles here. Maeda's celebration after he scores. Now, I'm not saying he's someone who's particularly emotional. He's not a badge kisser that can sometimes annoy fans. I've never seen anyone that despondent after scoring a goal in my life. His head was down. He almost didn't even want to put, like, when folk have got their arm round him, Matt O'Reilly, I think it is, comes over. He's almost heading. What was all that about?
I think he's just in total shock that he found the target, to be honest. I've wrote down on my page quite a few times, Maeda in acres of space down the right-hand side, goes to hit a cross, ends up in not even row Z, row ZZ, out of the stadium. I think he's just in total shock that he put it on target. I really do. I don't know what other reason there would be for that lack of celebration, because at the end of the day, put it back.
I like this from Mitzi, Jenny.
That's the goal. Yeah.
That's a great point.
That's the goal that put us through to the next round of the Scottish Cup. Actually, that's just reminded me of something. Where was Abada today?
Yeah, not in the squad at all.
His
body language wasn't good though the last game, was it?
I haven't actually noticed that until right now. I didn't even realise that Abada was nowhere to be seen. Yeah, I have no idea what the reason for that was, unless I don't know, unless he's absolutely bollocksed, he's tired, but then he shouldn't have been playing.
Yeah, it was weird. I've never seen anyone react to goals.
He's scored goals before and he celebrates like I've no idea.
Not even a Celtic player ever seen like that. Any team. Do you know what I mean? I've never seen a player react to that ever after a goal, unless it's been like a I don't know, even a testimonial, usually you smile and it's like, there's no real celebration. It's like, hey.
No, I think he's just in shock. I think he's just in shock. He's found the target, to be honest with
He's
you.
maybe just another one struggling to adapt to it being a different manager, mate.
Total shock.
It was a weird one, but the second goal sealed the deal. Undeniably, 2-0 away to St Mirren this season on the landscape of things. I thought it was a good result. What do you now make so we can focus on rather than going through? Because I'm not going to lie to you. Again, I found myself getting a wee bit distracted in the second half. Do you know what I mean? When it's on, it's like, it's not edge of the seat stuff, is what I'm trying to say.
Probably just feel like Palma's involvement in that. I thought that was another excellent cross from Palma. I know he's much maligned. He's much maligned, but he comes out of that today, Bhoycie, with 2 more assists.
I know.
And he's always going to be one of those people who polarizes the support. And there's been days where I have thought, fucking get this guy to just get him out of the team. But I thought he was okay today, to be honest. I don't think there was an awful lot that he didn't do right. And he walks off with 2 goal assists.
I wonder if sometimes with Palma, I think he's had really, really high moments, particularly in Europe. Phil was talking about this, I think it was today, on the Sunday Blether. And his high moments, he's got to then be able to replicate on a more consistent basis domestically. But then we go into the numbers game and you think, well, he's doing okay for us. One of the things with Palma is, though, you need to remember in the European games, for example, we don't have as much of the ball. So we're not creating or we're not getting him into those same positions. But what he is delivering when he is getting the opportunity is superb outcomes, because he was, he's very unlucky against Lazio. He scored another couple of superb goals. But domestically, it's doing it consistently, because you're going to find yourself in these positions, even in the Rodgers system, every now and then to get a good quality ball in. And we've seen the worst of that today when he was down the left in the second half. Goes to put up one in, a wee bit of zing on it, I think, Terry, for want of a better word. And he just launches out of Palma. It looks that bad. It looks that bad that I think these stick out. But you know what? He gets involved. And he's trying to affect outcomes. That's what I like about him.
I think the only thing that stops him being a decent player, Bhoycie, is the lack of pace. I think if
he's not a decent player.
I think
is he not even a decent player?
I think he'd be a decent player if he had a yard of pace. If he had pace, if he had made his pace, I think Palma would be a very, very decent player. But he doesn't. But he will, at the end of the season, his numbers will stack up versus Jota's. I'm absolutely convinced they will. But when you take away the numbers and just go on what you've seen with your eyes and try to compare those 2 players, you'll go, there's night and day. There's just levels between the 2. But I genuinely think his numbers will be as impressive, if not more impressive, than Jota's. I just think it's the defensive side on that left-hand side. I just don't think he gives you anything at all. And then when you've got Bernabei coming behind, who doesn't give you anything defensively either, you have 2 players and their whole makeup is just around going forward. And there was one run today, actually, from Bernabei where I just thought, actually, do you know what? If you were scouting him and he played like that for 90 minutes, you probably would make a bid for him. Do you remember the one I'm talking about where he went down the left, he beat a couple of players? You're thinking if you went to a game to scout him and he'd done that 2 or 3 times, you probably would think there's a player in there. But as much as Big Liam doesn't like Greg Taylor, we need Greg Taylor back ASAP down that left-hand side. Really.
Talk to me about what you've made about Bernabei's contribution over the last couple of weeks. And do you know what? All the failings he's got, we'd already seen. And I think they're very much exposed at times. But I don't always think it's worth harping on about deficiencies in his game that we already have discussed at length.
I agree with you. I think
sometimes you need to look at a player and go, well, what did he bring? Midweek, there was a few times opposition have the ball. There he is trying to meet them almost at the halfway line to win it back. And I thought was far more offensive and going to win balls that are maybe 60-40 against than maybe a Greg Taylor would be. He's got too many mistakes in his game to hang your hat on. That's the reality. But I think what he's shown, though, in terms of knowing that he's a downgrade, right, on Greg Taylor, We're looking for an upgrade on Greg Taylor, bear in mind, only a month ago, which is really, really disappointing. But knowing he is a downgrade on that, I think we have to admire certain aspects of his game. He's certainly not one who's went in with his head down and in a sulk, Terry. He's came in and absolutely given his all. And he's shown a bit of dig. He's shown a bit of fight. At times can fool you as well, because if you just snipped up the good bits in his game, you think, look at the techers on him as well. I mean, there was one point where he skins the two players and then he just passes it straight back to the St Mirren defence. But he runs up from left back, beats one, knocks the ball round the other one, goes round the other side of him. Electric pace as well. Good technique. And you think, wow, what an aggressive fullback in the modern day. Then it comes to his final ball and he's still looking at the ball. He's not looked up. He's not realised there's no one where he's about to pass it to, and he passes it to no one. But for the rawness, that he's got, he's been much maligned. We talk about players being much maligned. He's had it tight. He's had it stinking off everyone. Sometimes justified. That's what you get. You get paid thousands of pounds a week to play for Celtic. Take it on the chin. Same way I take it on the chin that I get, a couple of pence to do these shows a week, Terry, and take it tight, for various reasons, using my hair. You've got to take it on the chin. Bernabei has given his all. And that's all we can ask for right now when we know it's not a player as good as who's usually in position. And even the guy who's in position normally when he's available isn't as good as what we expect for Celtic. So that's where, sort of Bernabei is in our mindset. All we can do is applaud the good bits right now for me. And, just keep doing what you're doing, mate, because whilst he's a necessity, that's all we can ask for.
I think it's a fair point. I think Bernabei is probably a victim of the fee, Bhoycie, to be honest. Like, if we had brought him in for the same fee that we brought Liam Scales in for, or something similar, then when he fills in for Taylor and we see some attributes that are worthy of playing for Celtic, mainly going forward, he doesn't hide. I'll give him that. He definitely doesn't hide. No matter how bad he's been, he doesn't hide when he's got his opportunities. And who's to say, Bhoycie, that all this guy needs is maybe a run of 12, 15 games to get him accustomed and get him into the way of Celtic playing? We'll probably never know, because I don't think he'll ever get that run. But I think the fact that this guy's come in for almost 4 million, we've expected a definite upgrade on Greg Taylor, and it hasn't quite played out like that. And Greg Taylor has remained as the first choice. And this guy's
very quickly.
You can't, because you criticise me for doing the same thing.
I know, but I'm just going to say he was the most expensive player, mate. The most expensive player in Celtic's first 11 midweek.
Aye, but you more than anybody talk about the fact that you can't judge players. You have to compare player against player without considering the fee, because remember we talked last year, do we have an expectancy level of a 6.5 million player more than a player that we've brought in for 1.5 million? And is that actually fair? Because that player has no influence on what that fee is. So say we did bring in Bernabei for 500,000, the same as we did with Scales, and we've seen a performance like we did from him today, and he cost 500,000, would we be sitting here going, actually, do you know what? He's a bit of a snip at 500,000. That was a bit of good scouting there. But because we've signed him for 4 million, because we've blown the KT money on Bolingoli and all sorts of other players to try and fill that gap, are we now, because we've spent 4 million in Bernabei, are we judging him to a different level than we would have done Liam Scales, for example? These are all kind of conversations that I'm having in my head. Do I think he's good enough to be our left back first choice? Absolutely not. No chance. I don't see it. I don't, even if he got that run of 12 to 15 games, I think he'd be a better player if he got that run, but I don't think he'd be good enough to be Celtic's first choice left back. But I suppose to bring it round to a close, I think he does have attributes. He's not one of these players. He's not like Kobayashi, where I've looked at him and I've thought, this guy has no attributes at all. to be a professional footballer, never mind a Celtic player. I can see parts of Bernabei's game where you can think, right, that's the reason he's a professional football player, because in that scenario he can do that. Going forward, he's got pace, he's got aggression, he's got something about him. So you can see why he's a professional footballer. Does he really fit into what we're going to do? Probably not. But I think he's the victim of the price tag, if I'm honest with you. Because, like I say, if he came in for the same fee as Scales, we probably would be saying, do you know what? He's not a bad backup option. But because he costs $4 million, we don't want a backup option. We want somebody who's better than Greg Taylor. We want somebody who's a stick-on nailed left back who doesn't make mistakes and probably has 1 assist in every 3 games. That's what we're looking for.
Couldn't agree more. Sam Fan Celtic comes in. It's good to have you on the bus as always, my man. Different views sometimes. That's what it's all about on here, as you know. He says you could yet find out he's well worth the $4 million.
I hope so.
Lad. But what he finishes it with, Terry, is let the lad play. I think you only have the lad playing as and when necessary. I really, really don't think we're in a position where we just let lads play now to give them runs of games. Particularly when, as Rodgers after the game, did you see Millenny? Rodgers, I'll get to that. That's one of the top.
No, I didn't see. The only bit of the post-match I seen was McGregor.
I'll get to it, mate. Don't you worry. But with the current narrative that Rodgers alluded to being pretty negative right now, I don't think we'll be letting anyone play to give them runs a game. It's got to be on merit or injuries and suspensions dictate. So, praise when it's due for Bernabei's commitment, dedication to the cause. We agreed on that one, big man.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
The only thing just around the left back conversation, Bhoycie, is, and I think he is injured. I think the young lad Frame is injured, but he wasn't injured in the games immediately after the game where he made his debut against Feyenoord. And my only thought around that was, and I know there's the homegrown quota that you have to do in European game, but we didn't have to. There was a homegrown quota that meant he ended up on the bench, but we didn't have to bring him on, and we brought him on. And I thought that lad, again, in a cameo, just 15, 20 minutes, whatever it was, that lad looked as if he had something about him. And if he's good enough to come on and play against Feyenoord, surely he's good enough to come on and play a couple of games after that. I'm surprised by that one, where the manager felt he could bring him on in that environment, albeit it was a dead rubber, but it was still a game against a quality of opposition that is much superior to anything we'll face domestically. And we haven't seen that lad since. Now, I know he's been injured subsequently, but he wasn't injured in the first few weeks after that, and he never even appeared on a bench again. And that, again, is just one of those moments this season where you're scratching your head. You're thinking, what's the thought pattern there? What's the thought pattern? I get why he found himself on the bench, because we have to have the homegrown players, but we didn't have to bring him on. But we brought him on, and we've never seen him again since.
Yeah, interesting. I know. And then it's like, if there's one other criticism you could give of the regime under Rodgers or under Rodgers' regime would be that, which seems to be a Celtic trait, to be honest with you, because we've spoke about youth players before, but it's not just youth players under Rodgers, it seems the sporadic involvements he gives players. You know what it's like, he does rate him. I got the vibe that he was right out in the cold, and then they go from bypassing being on the subs bench straight in at the first team. We've seen, as you were talking about, Bernardo earlier, who elevated himself from the strangest position of being Champions League sort of henchman, but not good enough for domestic football, which is in itself our first ever for Celtic. Now he managed to turn himself into, first team regular for a month. That isn't, very interesting.
Even look at
that with youth players and regulars. Yeah, that back out the equation, I know.
That's because we're into February. So in January we give him a bit of a run out so that he didn't sign for anybody in January, and then we're into February. We've now got the Messiah in Ida and Vata. Yes, he's still getting on the bench, but he's not getting game time.
B comes in and says McCarthy will be on next week. I'd love that. A couple of games here and there. I like to see him get a couple of games here and there.
Imagine at some point before the end of the season, McCarthy comes on and just shores up a game.
He did it last season, remember? Do you remember he did it last season in one game?
That's one that's annoyed me, Bhoycie, McCarthy, because I was excited by that signing. As much as it was probably too late in his career, I still thought at his age.
Joined at 30.
I still thought at his number age, he still had 4 years, but probably with his injuries, his body age was actually 38, to be honest. And that's probably where the disconnect has come. Because of the amount of injuries he's had from when he first came through, his body was way beyond his actual age. I thought when he came in, I thought getting him on a free was a superb signing. I really, really did. And that's one that's kind of annoyed me. And probably even more annoyed me that we didn't get him straight from Hamilton. Imagine if we had got him in when before he went down south. I think we genuinely would have got his best years. Yes, he probably still would have been.
Why is it imagine as well? Why is it imagine we got a guy from Hamilton?
Imagine the midfield with James McCarthy at his peak and John McGinn at their peak and Calmac. That three, McCarthy, McGinn and McGregor. What about that for a midfield three?
And what an identity Celtic would have as well, with keeping that sort of Scottish Irish core. But just like players like James McCarthy for Hamilton should never have been. Imagine we got that guy for Hamilton. They should be done. He was recognised. He was in that team.
We wouldn't go to 1.5 million for him that time. That was under Mowbray. We wouldn't go to 1.5 million for him.
That's ridiculous. I know, and that's another damning one.
We wouldn't go to 2.75 for McGinn. Like
2.8 for McGinn. Yep, 2.8. Wanted to pay 2.5.
To me, McGinn is an absolute baller. I just love watching the lad, and you can just imagine him. You can just imagine him in a Celtic jersey. And how the hell did that one never happen?
Big Don comes in very quickly. Now we're talking about McCarthy. McCarthy loves the money he's taken from the club under contract and won't give up. It's not because it's from Celtic, if that's what you're alluding to. He's under a contract. He is a professional. You sign a contract, you honour it. That works both ways. James McCarthy at this moment in time is doing absolutely nothing wrong. I don't think there's any agenda of him being against the club or anything like that. He is more than entitled as an employee when he signs a 4-year deal to be there for these 4 years. Celtic, bear in mind, Big Dom, rejected an offer of a loan deal for him in January. So James is quite happy. I'm sure he is, because the money's massive, to sit tight. When you get offered the contract, it's Celtic's responsibility to honour that contract, and the player is doing the exact same.
That was McCarthy's dream move. You heard that interview whenever he first signed, and it's probably
but won't give it up is what I was kind of.
I know that.
Of course he wouldn't. Why should he?
Why should he? It's become a bit comical, that interview when he signed, because it's almost as if he's doing an impression of Brendan Rodgers or something. But for James McCarthy, that was his dream move. And the fact that it happened when he was 30, if Celtic had stumped up the cash to get him whenever he was 18 and 19, 20, he would have moved then as well. He's got his dream move. He's come in here thinking, I'm here, I want to make a difference. But at the end of the day, if we've offered him a deal, same as we have done with some of these players, I mean, we've offered long-term contracts. I think the latest one was 5.5 years. We're now going 5.5-year contracts. If we're gonna give these out to people, you can't then turn around and criticize the player for wanting to see that out because it suits him. Do you know what I mean? We criticize players too often for they come in and they're trying to work their ticket and they're trying to go somewhere else. But then we criticize players who want to stay, want to be with the club, want to try and, make a contribution. He's not able to make a contribution because the manager doesn't deem that he's at the level to do that. But that's not his fault. He didn't give himself the contract. You can't have it both ways. We're criticising players for trying to make their way out of the club, but we then want to criticise players who aren't getting game time but want to stay at the club. You can't have it. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, to be clear, Big Dom, it turns out, wasn't saying that. He's in complete agreement with us. But you're spot on, Terry, with everything you're saying there, because there's plenty of fans, I think, who do feel that almost, he should be, ripping that up and all that sort of thing.
So if you're not good enough, we want you to go. If you are good enough and you want to go, we don't want you to go. You can't have it both ways.
Exactly, mate, exactly. Okay, Brendan, after the game, we chinwag with Lenny, Terry. It was interesting.
Would you swap them? Would you swap them right now for the last bit of the season?
No. And do you know what? I'm so fucking glad you asked this, because I debated with myself about kind of like that. What my conversation with myself was when I watched that. I'm always trying to think of what could be talking points for the P.M.P. Do you know what I mean? When you're watching these things, wee things pop up.
And you don't know what version of me you're getting, whether I'm sober, drunk, in between.
Yeah, I prefer you on the pints of milk. But speaking of that, I'm going to have another beer. But when it comes to Lenny and Rodgers there, what addressed it was, Lenny is 100% getting in what I think is examples to make it look like, he'll say things like, you look at the narrative, Brendan, look at the results and all this, and it's difficult to trick, to please people, whatever he's saying. And it's almost like he's still constantly going, see what I mean about the COVID season? See what I mean, how difficult they are to please? So there's a wee bit of a personal agenda there. But I had this conversation with her, you're going to love this. I was like, see if everything is, say even at dressing room level, because we don't know about that. We know how the fans feel about the board because we're part of that, okay? We know how the board feel about transfer windows because we can witness that and we know what comes in. And there's now too many players that have came in that are not good enough, okay? End of story. And I thought to myself, see, the thing is, if things are not just what we know that aren't good enough, but say inside they aren't good enough and it's coaches that Brendan didn't want, for example, or there is splits in the dressing room that's been alluded to this week, and the players don't like the tactics. I think they haven't liked it for whatever reason. I think when Ange Postecoglou has his magic wand over you, you're so invested in it that anyone is a come down from him. I think Mourinho, if he came in, who's a far, far, far more accomplished manager than Ange Postecoglou will ever achieve in his life. We will have trophies that he will only be envious of. I think Mourinho would have struggled this season. That's the honest truth. But that's digressing. What I thought to myself when I seen him on the screen was, see, when you think about it, if this was the current set of circumstances, a manager like Lennon was under right now, I think he would be way behind. I think we would be chasing Rangers in terms of points already. That's not to be a negative at Lenny in particular. I then started thinking back to our argument of best man for the job. If that does ring true that he was the best man for the job, then maybe when you think about all the other stuff, maybe that's how we're getting results and shitty performances, because the whole mood music is terrible. And had it been, because Lenny's in front of me when I'm thinking it, I'm going, actually, if it was Lenny in charge right now, we'd be 8-9 behind. Easy days with all these other. Do you know what he even did at one point very quickly, right? See what he did at one point? He went to say, obviously, we're apparently, and he went to do that, the inverted commas again, and he did it with like one hand, and then I think, because he's holding the mic, and I think he kind of realised quite quickly, and pulled his other hand away. And I don't know, there was just a bit of me that thought, it reminded me when he's done that with inverted commas thing, I thought, that takes me back to when we did have a toxic season. And it was all the mood music was similar, because people keep comparing this to the COVID season.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? People keep comparing this.
That's because that's the last time we weren't
successful. Right? Well, if it is, we're still top of the league and we're still in the cup. I'm going to hold on to that, because that is not where we were in the COVID season at this point.
Yeah. I know you're answering this already, right? But I wanted to ask you the question, so I'll ask it anyway. And I know that in the last few weeks, you have been in the mindset that this won't change. If we keep doing what we're doing now, we'll keep getting what we've been getting, and we'll probably lose this league. And the vibes I'm getting from you are we need to change the manager if we want to get this thing over the line. Now, I might be wrong on that, but that's how I'm picking it up. And I probably pressed the button on that a little bit sooner than most people, because after the Hearts game, that's when I decided I think we need to change this. I've probably backtracked a little bit from that, being influenced by the likes of yourself and other people that I respect in terms of their views on podcasts, who talked about, well, if it's not Rodgers, Terry Minato, if it's not Rodgers, who comes in that's actually going to make a difference? And that's when I started to think, actually, do you know what? Maybe I did press the button too early. And in the back of my head, I'm always thinking, see if Rangers had let Mickey Bale stay for another month, this title would be done and dusted. But they pressed the button as soon as they seen that situation wasn't going to resolve itself. They pressed the button. Whereas in the COVID season, the Celtic board almost, in spite of the fans, the Celtic board didn't press the button until it was too late. Rangers pressed the button in just enough time this season to actually make a difference. I was ready to press the button after the Hearts game because it was just so bad that I couldn't see any way where we were going to get over the line with this manager. So my question to you today, and I know your answer already because you've give it, but you've got Brendan and you've got Lennon standing there, and we've got whatever number of games are left. I'm going to guess it's something like 12, 13, something like that left. We've seen the performances under Brendan this season. We've talked about how he sucked the life out of the team, how it's too passive, how it's boring, monotonous, passing for passing's sake. You've got these remaining games left to the end of the season. You've got Brendan and you've got Lenny standing there. We're neck and neck with Rangers. Let's assume they win their game in hand. Let's assume they beat Ross County by more than one goal. They're ahead of us in goal difference. We're going down the finishing straight. We know what we've seen all season under Rodgers. You've got a choice to make. You keep going with Brendan and you hope he finds a way to change it, or you bring in Lenny and you hope that he gets enough blood and thunder to get this fucking thing over the line. Which one do you go with? I'm going to nail my colours to the mast. I'm going Lenny. I'm changing it. I'm changing it up. I'm going Lenny just to change it. We need to change it, Bhoycie. We need the blood and thunder. We need something different. I'm going Lenny. Yes, at the end of the season, Lenny.
That's never going to be the straight choice, though. This is very
Lenny,
hypothetical.
at the end of the season, you go ahead, Brendan, come back and try again. But I don't know how many games are left. It's roughly 13, something like that. You've those two. Which one do you choose to see this thing over the line? Are you still Brendan?
Yeah.
You can see why you might go Lenny, though, for a reaction.
Yeah, for a reaction. But the reaction last time was very, very negative. I think Lenny was part of it. When things were going bad across the whole club, and I think we've not seen it since. We've not seen a manager being back properly. We have seen players, I think, disillusioned with tactics or what the message is. I think from Lenny's point of view, it's probably a lack of tactics. I think from Brendan, it's too many tactics, or too much of a change from the hamstring. But what's happened is we're still being guided with far more positive results. If Lenny's got that same mood music going on, I think his results will go the wrong way.
Do you think Brendan's going to get this over the line?
Yes.
Genuinely, do you?
Yeah, but what I would hope, what I'm hoping, hopes and thoughts are two separate things and easily get conflated as well. And emotions dictate it too quick. I mean, we've read sometimes like it's absolutely a guarantee that Rangers have won the league. I think Rangers have won the league already. And see, you read stuff like that, you just think
right
that's just such a
melting pot. It's right in the melting pot.
But isn't it? Well, if it's in a melting pot, that's where we are. That's what will play out. And if it's in a melting pot, that means 1 week there'll be slight favourites, other weeks it'll be the other team that's slight favourites. End of story.
I think, Bhoycie, if we fall, I think we've got one more slip. If we slip 1, 2, 3 points behind, I think it's gone. I think as long as we...
I think that's the overreaction thing because of the last time Lenny was here. That is, mate.
No, I think if we fall behind, we're gone. If we fall behind, we're gone.
Based on
what I see with my eyes this season, we won't get back. If we fall behind, we're gone. We won't recover it.
Well, I don't think Lenny will be the answer to fix it.
No, I know he's not.
If it was hypothetical,
if it was Brendan or Martin, and you had a choice,
I think Brendan has the.
He's got to earn his corn, Bhoycie. This is the first time he's got to.
And he's just won 8 out of 9 against that. This is the thing, we need to be balanced, and this is what's fucking annoying me with so much of the chat. And I tried to talk about performances that have been underwhelming.
You were calling for his head 3 games ago.
I said it might be in the interest, such as the heat that he's getting on him, and see, to be honest with you, when you turn on the fans, he's turned the heat on the fans. That has been consistent. I said maybe if he's going to start acting like that, then is acting like that. It might be in the best interest.
He's got to earn his dough. He has to earn his dough now in the next.
He has to earn his dough now. But notwithstanding that, you've got to look at the record of 8 wins from 9 against all that. Against the worst transfer window since the summer one, but another shit one. I think we've got to say, if we can get 8 wins out of 9 of that, and all the performances, we're all in agreement, I've been pretty low-key to say the least. Still 8 wins from 9. That tells you want for the run-in. That tells you in a nutshell.
8 from 9, but the optics aren't good.
But the league table is the optics we need to focus on.
I know, Bhoycie, but there's a goal in it. There's a goal in it right now. There's a goal in it. Come Wednesday night, we're behind. In my eyes, come Wednesday night, we're in second place.
Yep. Okay.
We're in second place. Do you know what though?
Is there a fear of us being in second place? Do you think from fans that aren't used to us being in second, and because the last time there was even a remote chase on the cards for some of the players at Celtic, not the same ones. There's a different team now as well, but we didn't deal with that well. I don't think the fans deal with it well either. I think there's this entitlement though that Lenny and that spoke of, I think was misplaced, because what actually is, people think they're entitled to domestic success and you provided nothing on a European platform. People get conditioned when it becomes a generational thing, what they're used to. If you're used to trebles year on year, or you're used to us winning the league 12 out of 13 times, you're going to panic when something changes. You're going to panic if Celtic go out and spend real money for the Champions League. You're going to panic when Celtic drop to second place. I've seen both sides of the coin. You've seen both sides of the coin. I would like to think we'd be far better equipped if we came to second to keep our composure, keep our calm, and keep doing what we've done so far, and that is split the hairs by beating Rangers and getting over the line. It'll be very interesting. But I agree with you, it's a melting pot. But with melting pots, that means there's a balance to it. There's a recipe to it. And I think right now, there's the same amount. It's a 50-50 melting pot. Nothing more. It's not worth shouting for the rooftops, oh, Rangers have won the league, like too many did. Too many did because we drew with Aberdeen away. The results 2 months ago concern me more, those 2 defeats. But what he's done as a reaction to that is 8 wins out of 9 and a draw at Aberdeen. It's a good return after that. But the performances now need to come next. Definitely.
I'm not gonna howl to the moon like John Brown. Probably what might have been best is if we were actually in second place entering into the January window. Actually, if we'd been in second place then, we might have got a proper reaction from the powers that be, instead of bluffing us off with 2. It's a bit like Christmas. Those 2 players that come in January are a bit like, it's like what my wife does for me at Christmas. It's just stocking fillers. It's things you don't need that you just put into the stocking just to make it look as if there's something there and make it look as if you've done something. That's what that window was. That was just stocking fillers. That was just putting in a couple of players to make it look as if you've done something.
I agree with that. By the way,
as poor as a window as I've ever seen. However, here's the thing, Bhoycie. Here's the thing. Is this season now not so much more exciting as a fan because of the Jeopardy, rather than being 15, 20, 25 points clear by this stage and just going through that cycle where everything just comes so easily. It is more exciting. Now, I know that's probably a position that the club want us to be in, where the supporters feel a bit of jeopardy, because without having any awareness of
get what you're saying.
Without having any awareness of Celtic's accountants and stuff like this, I've been to a few lunches and dinners where people who know the ins and outs of the accounts at Celtic, they've actually said Celtic make the most money from the Celtic supporters when the league title is tight and when it's touch and go, one way and t'other. To me, I'm looking forward to each game now because there's jeopardy. Because if we don't get the result, it makes a lot of difference. And is that a better position to be in as a supporter than being 20 points clear and knowing that every game doesn't really mean anything because you're so much better than all the rest? Is it more enjoyable as a supporter to be sitting mid-February with you're looking forward to Saturday because you know you must win this game? I don't know. It's a very difficult juxtaposition, to use a big word.
Oh, Terry, that vodka's kicking in when you feel like juxtaposition, mate. Love that. Listen, I think for me, my point of view, when it comes to the thrill of it all, I'm totally on side with you on that. Interesting enough, to spin another narrative would be today, the Cup's got some storyline as well, right? So this weekend they had a gimme at home to Ayr. Scott Brown's there added a bit of twist to it, but that just added a bit of juice to it. But let's be honest, it was a gimme.
Yeah, of course.
We had to wait to St Mirren under the current moon music. That was not just a banana skin, but I think that's one that gives your rivals hopes.
Next round's a wee bit different. Next round's a wee bit different.
What I'm trying to say is it's flipped in its head.
Yeah.
We get the bottom team. No, it's not a bit. It's completely chalk and cheese. They have flipped, and now it's good luck. We'll beat Livy at home. We'll beat the bottom team at home, and you all expect us to. Can you hang? Let's see what you do under the pressure. It just flips it. And by the way, just in the midst of that means we've survived our test.
Yeah.
Now over to you. And that will happen in the league as well. There will be these moments where, well, we weren't meant to get points there. We weren't meant to get that result if you believed everything you dread. Are you going to go get one? Now, I look at Ibrox. You look at that back four. We were not meant to get a result. They shot it that day. We got the result. At home, you listen to the difference this new manager at Rangers has made. I agree, by the way. Again, we hope we get the result. There was a 50-50 dynamic to that game. And they were the team chasing. They had to get the win. We go out and get it again. And by the way, forget it. All this narrative that, there was a few moments here and there. These derbies always have a few moments for each team. Celtic came out that comfortably with that win in the most recent one. There is tests along the way that have been acid ones. And I think Rangers now, with the Hibs away, that's their next one. It'll be in the Cup. And I think obviously when we next play at Ibrox, it's an acid one for us. And so on and so forth. I think we need to accept, if we're in a melting pot, as you call it, this is how it's going to be now in both competitions.
See the manager at Rangers, Bhoycie. I've seen enough in his behaviours and his mannerisms. He's one bad result away from a total meltdown, by the way. I think one bad result and his head will go. And see, Rangers went to Easter Road and played a Hibs team minus Martin Boyle and blew them away. We played Hibs during the week. Martin Boyle was back from international duty. A Hibs team with Martin Boyle is 50% better than a Hibs team without Martin Boyle.
Couldn't agree.
You know what I mean? I'm talking one player makes a difference to that team. And that draw today, somebody might snip this and it might come back to make me look stupid. We'll be in the semi-final draw. They'll have a hell of a fight. They may well get there, but they've got to go and get that done. That's the Scottish Cup. That's second prize for this season. The league is the main thing that we have to get done. But today's all about the Cup. We've done our job. We've gone to St Mirren, one of the informed teams in the SPL, one of the hardest draws. You might even say probably the hardest draw, other than Rangers away or Rangers at home. St Mirren away on form is the hardest game. We've got the job done. Yes, they chances. Yes, we weren't brilliant. We've got the job done. We're through. We've now got a game against the poorest team in the SPL, and they're going to a team which is one of those games where you maybe go there and you win comfortably, but sometimes you go there and you end up with egg in your face. So let's see who's in the semi-final draw, and we'll take it from there.
We will take it from there indeed. Instead, though, we are going to take off. I've got a wee bit of work to do still before. I'll try to get these calls done before 6 o'clock.
You've changed, Bhoycie. You have changed.
I know, man. I'm a corporate pig. But yeah, no, I better go. Right, anyway, I've enjoyed the debate. Around 10 minutes, that's been great. 226 you live. Remember, give us a wee like, give us a share, slag the hair, or give us a thumbs down. Apparently, that even helps the algorithm as well. So we're into it all. But anyway, enjoy what's left of your Sunday night. Celtic through at the next round.
Hail, hail.
Cheers.